I'm back in Sonoma, California. It's our national sales kickoff, and we're doing some Fireside Chat today. I get to talk to some of the coolest tech companies in the M&E industry, find out what they're doing, why they're doing it, and why it matters to you. And today, I get to talk with Mr. Jordan Winkelman from Quantum. Jordan,
Yes.
You came back.
I did.
I know. I've tortured you before here.
Multiple times.
Yes, this is true, but yet you came back. Okay, so we've got some cool stuff to talk about. First, let's go back. Who's Quantum? What do they do? Like, just give us the short run in case there's some newbie out there that doesn't know.
Quantum, 43-year-old storage company, started in hard drives and tape many, many years ago.
I owned one.
Sold
Hard drive, not tape.
Sold the hard drive company, kept the tape, bought some other companies. Then we became the StoreNext company, and one of the main high bandwidth storage environments for media and
I
entertainment.
mean, you know, let's just toot the horn a little bit. When we say main, I mean, you guys have powered some of this, I would say, probably the lion's share of television and film content that people watch.
Absolutely. If you go to the movies and watch a movie in the theater, there's a very good chance it
How
was
come you
finished
guys
on
don't
Quantum.
get a logo at the bottom when it
I've
rolls up, right?
always wondered that myself.
Edited on Quantum, right?
I mean, the how you know is it says Technicolor or Deluxe.
Yeah, there we
which is
go.
basically everything.
Yeah, fair enough. That is true. That is true. That is true. Okay, now, so storage, you guys have been in that space for a long time. A couple of years ago, though, you made a really interesting pivot and you bought Squarebox, the makers of Cat TV. Talk to me about why.
Why? Well, when you work with a lot of video content, it can be very challenging to search for that content and find that video content. You might have a person's name as a keyword to a video that's 4 hours long. Well, where are they in that video? How do you find all of that content to make whatever it is you're doing, or remonetize that content for use later on in the video or media life cycle? And so we acquired the company, started building integrations, making it better with StoreNext so that when you move a file on the file system, it doesn't lose all the metadata associated with it. So that's a kind of a unique thing.
That's huge, yeah.
Yeah. And then we integrated it with our own archive tools. And it's really about helping our customers in media and entertainment reutilize those assets that they spent time and money generating.
And we've been big fans of Cat TV for a long time because it does solve a lot of problems for understanding what you own. Right? Where's the content? What did I do with it? Where did I put it? How do I archive it? Because a lot of times people don't think about, once I send it away to the archive, how do I know where I sent it and what it was, right? And so having a tool like Cat TV, but I just want to make sure that, like, from an audience perspective, they understand they can still get Cat TV by itself.
Absolutely.
Or get it rolled into StoreNext.
So a customer can buy Cat TV and run it on whatever storage and make use of it on whatever servers they want. Or a customer can acquire it from Quantum. They can acquire the StoreNext file system. They can acquire the compute layer to actually run Cat TV. You can buy GPUs to do accelerated transcode. We can handle the tape archive, the object storage archive. And so we're bringing a holistic ecosystem of capabilities into Cat TV that, as a software vendor, Squarebox couldn't provide.
Well, it's interesting because you said a couple things back there, like transcode, for instance. That's part of a larger ecosystem. That's an end-to-end supply chain conversation of ingest, manipulation, transcode, distribution, and now you guys are sort of a complete end-to-end media chain.
Absolutely, and we also keep on top of all the various new camera codecs and raw codecs, and we pay a pretty significant license so that customers can have full access and do all their proxies with the raw camera codecs and apply LUTs and not have to pay for an additional piece of software to provide that functionality. It's all just built in.
So I want to pivot a little bit, and you and I kind of talked about this a couple weeks ago when we were planning for this, but let's talk about metadata. Let's talk about metadata ownership, but and kind of where you all are in that space now, what you're doing to enable customers. So AI. Where is the AI story? Because that's the hot story, right? Everybody wants to talk about AI. Well, I got AI here. I got AI on my phone. I got AI in my storage. Where are you all implementing AI and how?
So we've actually implemented AI inside Cat TV. You can buy a server, put a GPU into it, pick a model for transcription, translation, up-res, action spotting in sports. Whatever the customer's desire and use cases, we can bring that AI to them. And if we don't have a pre-built model that we've already designed, we'll work with partners and the customer to build them the AI of their choice, to do the thing that it is that will make them money. We're also doing things differently with our AI model, where instead of using a consumption model where you're paying per shot, per hour of video or audio that you're processing to get that enriched metadata from, customers can take our AI model, give our update 6 months down the road, and they can rerun their AI on that same video content and not have to pay for it again.
And let's understand, so the audience can understand why. I mean, this is really important because a lot of the AI companies really operate in the cloud.
Right.
Right? You have to take your content, vault it up, put it in their cloud. So what you're paying for is not so much the AI, but the CPU, the GPU, the storage space.
The networking.
And they're gonna constantly, and that's a constant bill that they gotta pay, and they're just passing it on to the consumer. You guys aren't taking that approach necessarily.
We can run a GPU and a virtual machine in the cloud, and we can make that the target. If the customer wants to be in the cloud but not pay the consumption model, we're more than happy to do that as well. But the idea is that the customer owns their own metadata. They're not exposing their metadata to other customers. They know that if they don't want to share that content outside their walls, it's not ready to be broadcast anywhere, or it's to a competitive cloud of some kind, they can keep that content all on-premise and be able to run it on more data because they don't have to question, is this data valuable enough to justify the expense?
The expense, yeah. And and that's really interesting because if you hear a lot about right now what's going on with the LLMs, it's, well, you scraped my data and now you're using it to make money elsewhere. And it's like, well, so you have a lot of the big content providers shutting off the well, so to speak, to say, you can't touch my data, right? And so there's all this, proprietary metadata, and then the lock-in on that metadata, and we talked a little bit about that before, that by doing this on-prem, by moving this downstream onto local location, you have faster access to the media, you're not paying transfer fees, you're not paying all the extra, storage fees, and you own the metadata.
Yep.
It is yours, and it can follow that asset for life.
Correct. And that's truly critical. I mean, some of the vendors out there in the world today are basically taking your metadata and reselling it to other similar companies. And that just seems wrong.
Well, it's funny because, I've heard this term a long time ago. If it doesn't cost anything, you're the product. But in this case, these companies are charging you and you're still their product, right? So they're kind of double dipping. Yeah.
Yes. It's very interesting. Maybe we should try that? No, I don't think so.
Where's plumbing? You just got your new product idea.
Yeah, I can't turn off the obnoxious.
I know it happens. Yeah. It's rough.
It is.
It's rough.
But it's exciting to us to be able to allow the customer to develop their own AIs if they have that capability and that skill set. We're not restricting them to any particular AIs. We'll help them pick and choose which ones make sense. And we'll help them even develop facial recognition AIs for their subset of the people they want to search for, not every person in a video.
I mean, and that's interesting. And these are, just talk about the types of AIs that we're talking about here, because I think there's a big confusion in the AI market right now. I think people only understand the LLMs because they're the new sexy thing on the market, right?
Right.
It's all these LLMs from the Google version to the ChatGPT. These are not those.
Absolutely not. Ours are inferencing. Ours are about looking for faces, objects, logos, things that are in the content that you're bringing us, that you've gone and shot in the field. It could be a sporting event. It could be people walking down the street. You're not necessarily looking to generate that content to create an image that wasn't real or merge two things together. What we're doing is we're helping people search for their own content so that they can utilize it.
And there's a value to this one. A lot of times back in the day when I used to teach people how to use metadata, we'd always talk about subjective versus objective metadata, right? We all could objectively look at this table and say it's flat, but subjectively your brown that you see on your side is a little different than mine. So if the two of us approached this and tagged this, we would probably get a different metadata set.
Absolutely.
But the AI built into the system sort of has a baseline, which gives consistency in the metadata, right? So the person who's coming later to do the search is going to get consistent search results by using a baked-in solution like you're putting into Cat TV.
Yeah, and it's also interesting that you brought up like the inferencing around our perception of this table. Well, how do you perceive emotion on a person's face?
I usually wait till they throw something at me.
Good call. AIs can actually inference in real time Is that a smile? Is that a frown? Are you scowling? Are you angry? Are you happy? Are you sad? Whatever the emotion is, they can infer and apply a certain amount of percentage of accuracy on that, so that you can be searching for the angry Jordan or the angry Nicholas.
Yeah, it's interesting because early in the CatDV days, they had a really interesting statistic that talked about how often people search, how much time is spent searching, and how many false results came in that search. Because you go and you search for a piece of media, then you get 500 clips back, and now you have to sort within that 500 clips. And a lot of times people gave up halfway through because they didn't find what they wanted, right? But if I can search with more detail, more finesse, so to speak, I can get to that search result finder faster, not finder, that's an Apple thing, but get the search result quicker and more accurate so I can keep doing business, right?
Well, you can also add different layers to that search complexity. We can say, how many times did Jordan say this word in a particular podcast recorded with Nicholas? Well, we've done a number of podcasts, so now we can go search based on all these different video files for those podcasts, and maybe in the different source pieces for the different cameras.
Yeah, speaking of which, we have enough audio on you now that we can actually
probably
generate.
The AI.
Yeah, so we're gonna have our own Jordan bot soon. Yeah.
Oh, that's terrifying.
Ask Jordan a question, never know the answer.
That kind of scares me.
Yeah, well, I mean, and that's, I think there is a great fear in the market over AI, right? It has both this positive connotation and this negative connotation, right? Because I think people can do destructive things with AI. We've already started to see it, right? But I think people can do some really amazing things with AI.
Oh, I agree. But you're right about the destructive nature. And I worked in branding and advertising for decades before I came to the storage world. And I actually worked with people who created brands that are still on shelves today, even 20 years ago when I worked for them. All of their content was used to train these AIs because they were scraped from wherever. And as a result of that, you can go and use one of these fancy new AIs and have it recreate whichever brand's logo. And it's probably derivative of something that one of my friends or coworkers did as work for hire. And so, the owner of the brand owns that. But the reality is, none of these models that are coming out today that scraped the internet own those brands, but they have the capability of creating a new logo in the style of that brand.
Replicating that artistic style.
Yep.
Yeah. No, I think it's going to be a scary space for a while in the AI world, especially for the artists. Because I see, even from a logging standpoint, AI is replacing loggers. Right? I mean, to a certain degree, right? I mean, that was I think you may have talked about this once in the past. The entry-level job in a TV station used to be sitting around logging tapes. What's on this tape, right? What's on this tape? Well, now since it's a digital file, I can feed it into CatDV, and it can tell me what's in that asset.
But you're also going to get far more detail than an individual logger was going to be able to create, because you're going to be able to search every word that's stated in that in that video. You'll be able to go to exact frames of every time.
There is a level of efficiency that cannot be maintained by enough humans.
And it's going to happen it's going to happen in seconds to minutes instead of hours to days, because it can make use of whichever GPU you've used that may or may not cost more money, or you can use a farm of GPUs. But you can also do things like looking for logos at sporting events, not in the field, but in the stands. Because if it makes it to TV, somebody should be getting paid for that ad impression, whether it's on a fan's T-shirt or whether it's on the scoreboard or in the ad on the field. I can start
renting out my chest to companies to get their logo seen on TV. Is that where you're going with this?
That's absolutely where I'm going with it.
This is good. I got my second job, Jordan. I know what I'm doing on the weekends.
Well, the thing is that those teams or those leagues or whomever, somebody's paying for that advertising. So take your pick major brand. Well, every time somebody ends up on the screen, you're seeing it.
Yeah. So in this case, we're talking less about the editors, the producers, the content, but more about the content, the brand ownership of being able to see where was I, how many impressions did I get? So these are analytics more for the advertising world.
Correct.
Right. So it's a very different model than what we sort of talk about the traditional media workflow.
There's no way a human being is keeping up with the 40,000 fans in the stadium for the baseball game.
It would take too long to go.
It would take a very, very long time, and they do that today. They want to get paid.
Yeah.
Is there a cost-benefit analysis for how much it costs to have human labor doing that versus an AI? And quite frankly, that sounds like the boring work that no human wants to do.
No, completely, but it's probably a larger market for the most part, right? There's more brands out there that aren't content creators, but just content consumers.
The other thing is that AI gets that 90% of the job done. You still need a human being to go back and do quality control. I mean, for these generative AIs, I keep hearing the term hallucination.
Yes.
You know, so if your AI is hallucinating something and you're just expecting it to not be a fictitious court case, I think maybe you want to go and do your own validation.
Yeah, you do want to test your own. That is a good call. That's a good call. So you've got CatDV, you're building in these AIs, you're building these models. What's next? Where does Quantum go to kind of embrace either a different market or a different model?
Well, I think it's expanding outside of media and entertainment in a lot of ways. We have a new product that helps us, you know, broaden our storage footprint outside of media and entertainment. And we're building it around traditional AI workloads so that we can be used for the training aspects as opposed to just the inferencing stuff. Different types of workloads, different vertical markets. It's expanding that footprint so that Quantum can grow beyond media and entertainment, really.
Nice. It is a bigger market outside of M&E.
About 95% of the storage market.
Yeah, no, so why not get a piece of that?
Exactly.
Awesome. Looking forward and excited to NAB this year where we get to see all this stuff in person and running. So phenomenal.
Yep.
Excited to have you here, man. Thank you for being.
Always a pleasure.
All right, there's been another Fireside Chat with your host, Nick Smith, and Jordan Winkelman today. Thanks for being here. We'll see you on the next episode.